Those in Dubai are dumping their pet cats and dogs on the streets as those expats try and flee the war in the Middle East. LBC has been made aware of reports that dogs are being abandoned and shot, while veterinary practices are being, quotes, inundated with requests to euthanise pets since the UAE city was struck by Iranian drones and missiles over the weekend. One volunteer has told us that cats were being left at her door every day. This is very distressing. A dog had been tied so tightly to a lamppost that its collar had cut into its neck. Pen Farthing is a former British Marine and founder of the animal charity Nowzad, who campaigned successfully to get animals evacuated from Afghanistan in 2021. Thanks for coming on the programme, Mr. Farthing. Your thoughts on what seems to be happening in Dubai as people attempt to leave?
Thanks for having me on. Firstly, I've got to point out that there's a completely different situation back in 2021. We actually had the Taliban roaming the streets of Kabul, hence why we were trying to evacuate. Whereas this aerial campaign by Iran on obviously the UAE, I understand how people can feel incredibly scared and they want to actually leave. I do question, though, their motivation with having an animal in the first place by then actually just abandoning it so that they can leave themselves. In my case, I would stay and obviously be there with my dog or cat and shelter in place until I could leave with it. But I can't speak for other people on how they're feeling and how they're dealing with it.
So to you, it would be akin to, if there were one seat on the plane out of there, but there were two of you in the family, it'd be like leaving one of your family behind.
Exactly, yeah. For me, and that's just my personal view, but having a dog or a cat, they are part of my family. And so I couldn't just leave them behind. But, I also understand a lot of people, I've travelled through Dubai often to get to Afghanistan to our animal hospital there. And, you don't go to Dubai expecting that you're going to be in the middle of a bombing campaign. So I can understand that people are incredibly scared and maybe a bit of panic. The British government's advice at the moment is still to shelter in place. You do have more chance of being hit by a car crossing the road in Dubai than you do by falling debris. So, maybe it's a little bit of panic that's kind of forcing people to do what they're doing at the moment. Do you believe that if, as pets are part of the family, that space should be made on those flights out of there for those animals? No, I don't actually, because we do have obviously strict rules around the world now for transportation of animals. Rabies is a huge problem. So unless people actually do have their animals vaccinated prior, then I understand why they can't just be evacuated. All of our animals back in 2021 were vaccinated. But if I had a vaccinated animal, this is part of my family, should I be able to take it on the plane out? Yes, they do, and actually they are now doing flights where people aren't being able to take their animals. We actually still have our contacts in Dubai that do pet transportation, and right now they are incredibly busy moving people's animals around the world away from Dubai. So it is happening right now, but people who haven't got those vaccinations sadly can't move their animals. So you have, and is this run by a charity or is this a paid-for service, these kind of sort of Dr. Dolittle style flights out of there? No, it's actually paid transportation companies. What you got to remember is Dubai is one of the major hubs around the world, so wherever people move animals, then they normally go through Dubai anyway. So there are a lot of companies that set up for this very reason. But that's not something you think the UK government should offer to vaccinated pets? No, I mean, at the end of the day, if people are living in Dubai, and they are wanting to be evacuated, then, as they would with their family, they should make these prior preparations. And like I said, right now, I think the onus needs to be on the people who are in transit. They're people who are travelling back from holiday and wherever, India, Australia, and now stranded in Dubai. They actually have nowhere to shelter. So I think the priority needs to be on those people before we start moving expats who actually move to Dubai for work or to live. People will remember, of course, the campaign that you launched. There have been many programmes about it in 2021 in Afghanistan. What has happened to those animals since? Are they still with you? Are they still alive? A lot are still alive. Sadly, we've lost a few now over the years. Age has crept up on them. But a lot of those dogs and cats that we brought back were actually already adopted. So, for example, just as the evacuation happened, all of the cats that were owned by British Embassy staffers were actually dropped off with us as the British Embassy evacuated. They left their cats with us, asking us to get them out. And so obviously when we did get back to the UK, once those cats had been released by DEFRA, they actually went back to their owners, who were British staffers who had left the embassy in Kabul.
Let's see if you get called again about the situation in Dubai. Pen Farthing, thank you. Former British Marine, founder of the animal charity Nowzad.